So I'm hoping you can help me out here. In my physical science class, we're talking a lot about density, and one of the things that we're trying to figure out are some of the patterns that will make things float or sink. And one of the demonstrations I did, something interesting happened. And what we were doing there is we were taking an orange. And the first thing we did is we took just one kind of segment of a peeled orange. And I said, okay, well, what do you think is going to happen? Is it going to float in water or is it going to sink? And they said, well, if it's more dense than water, it's going to sink. If it's less dense, it's going to float. And so we went in there and we threw it in, and sure enough, it sunk. And then we said, okay, well, what if we have a full orange? And if they knew the pattern there, they would know that since it's the same stuff, it would do the small piece would do the same thing as a big piece. So we go in and sure enough, it sinks. Now, then I asked, well, what if we had just a little piece of the peel? Well, what's that going to do? Is it going to float or sink? And we put that in there, and it floats. So the question became, what happens if you have a full orange that's unpeeled? Okay, because it's got peel, it has the orange inside of it. Is it going to float or is it going to sink or is it going to be somewhere in the middle there? And when we did that, we found that sure enough that it floats. So one of the things that came up that I didn't have an answer to was, well, what is it about the peel? And I said, well, you have density. It's that ratio of mass to volume. But that didn't seem to satisfy them because we also tried something else out. Because some of the students had this idea that water was the water was somehow repelled by the peel, or that it was keeping the water out. I said, well, what would happen if we took just a little piece of the peel and got rid of that? Okay, would that affect the density? So we tried it. Well, still floats. What would happen if we took a larger amount off? Like let's take like the bottom third or so. Okay, is it still gonna float or is it gonna sink? Well, looks like it's still still floating. What if I take even more off? Sorry, this takes a little bit. So, what if we have just like this one? I guess we're talking like a third or so. Still floats. So how much do we have to take off before it'll actually sink?